They didn't believe in you. They mocked your dreams before they even had the chance to breathe. They dismissed your voice, as if your existence was a whisper too faint to matter. They laughed. Oh, how they laughed at every spark of ambition you dared to show, drowning it with their doubt before it could ever become a flame. And now they watch in silence. But silence is the loudest sound of all. It lingers in the air like an unfinished sentence, like an apology that will never come. Because they don't have the words anymore, do they? They don't know what to say now that you're rising, now that you refuse to be buried under the weight of their disbelief. They don't know how to react now that you've turned their doubt into the very force that fuels you. You know exactly what it's like to be overlooked, to be reduced to the background while others take center stage. You felt it, being the afterthought, the shadow, the one they never took seriously. You've watched them celebrate others while your victories went unnoticed, your struggles unseen. They never expected you to make it. In fact, they were sure you wouldn't. But here you are. This isn't just a story. This is your war for self-respect. And make no mistake, war is exactly what this is. Not a battle with them, no. They were never the real enemy. The real war has always been within you, against the doubt they planted in your mind, against the voice that told you they were right, against the belief that maybe, just maybe, you were never meant to be anything more than what they saw. That belief, it dies today, because this is where everything changes. This is where you take back everything they tried to strip from you. The respect, the power, the control. You were never weak, only underestimated. You were never lost, only searching. And you were never insignificant, only surrounded by those too blind to see your worth. Every great story has a turning point, a moment when the tides shift, when the underdog refuses to stay down. This is yours. This is the moment you stop waiting for validation, for permission, for a seat at their table. Because you weren't made to sit at their table, you were made to build your own. So let them watch in silence. Let them sit with their disbelief. Let them wonder how you did it, while you do exactly what they said you couldn't. Because the truth is, their disrespect was never meant to break you. It was meant to wake you up. And now, you're wide awake. They conditioned you to believe you were small before you ever had the chance to realize you were powerful. You weren't born weak, but they made you feel like you were. They made you feel like you were. You came into this world whole, limitless, untouched by doubt. But they clipped your wings before you even knew how to fly. They planted seeds of insecurity in your mind long before you had the wisdom to reject them. And so, you grew in the shadow of their doubt, mistaking it for your own. They, the ones who should have lifted you, the ones who should have seen your potential and nurtured it instead of stepping on it like an inconvenience. Family, teachers, so-called friends, those who spoke with authority as if they had the right to define you, as if they knew who you were better than you did. They disguised their doubt as advice, wrapped their disbelief in concern. Maybe you should think smaller. Are you sure that's for you? Not everyone is meant for greatness. And when you began to believe them, that was their victory. It starts subtly. A passing remark here, a dismissive glance there, a lowered expectation, a hesitation in their voice when they speak of your future. And before you know it, you've absorbed it. You wear their doubt like a second skin, so familiar that you forget it doesn't belong to you. You shrink yourself before anyone asks you to. You silence your dreams before they can be laughed at. You learn to play it safe, to stay in the lines, to not want too much, because wanting too much means risking too much. And risk? That's for people who belong in success, people who are meant for it. They made you believe you weren't one of them. Doubt is an infection. It seeps into your bones, poisoning every decision, every dream, every whisper of hope. It paralyzes you, makes you second-guess every step forward. What if I fail? What if they're right? You carry their words in your chest like stones, so heavy that moving forward feels impossible. You convince yourself that your ambitions are foolish, that your voice doesn't matter, that the best you can do is stay in your place. And that's exactly what they wanted. Because as long as you stay in your place, they don't have to feel uncomfortable. As long as you doubt yourself, they never have to confront the truth, that you are always meant for more. Because your success, it would expose their limitations. Your rise would remind them of every time they chose fear over courage, mediocrity over greatness. And so they keep you where it's safe, not for you, but for them. And you let them. You've felt it. The way the air shifts when you start to believe in yourself, even just a little. The way their eyes narrow, their tone changes. The way their support turns lukewarm, their encouragement hesitant. They don't celebrate your small victories. They don't clap when you take a step forward. In fact, they barely acknowledge it. But if you stumble, oh, they notice. If you fail, even slightly, they're there. A whisper behind your back, a smirk they try to hide, a comment laced with fake concern. Maybe this just isn't for you. I told you it would be hard. And it's in those moments that the doubt hits hardest, not because you believe them, not because they're right, but because some part of you wonders, what if they are? This is the weight of their words, the invisible chains wrapped around your potential, forged in every dismissive glance, every snide remark, every moment of silence when you needed encouragement most. You have carried this weight for too long, allowed it to shape you, to hold you back, to define what you think you are capable of. But here's the truth they never wanted you to realize. The weight of their doubt only holds power if you continue to carry it. You were never weak, you were just told you were. You were never meant to stay small, you were just convinced it was safer that way. And the moment you decide to let go of their words, to throw off the weight they placed on you, that's the moment they lose their hold on you forever. And that moment, it starts right now. There was a moment, maybe more than one, when quitting felt like the only option. When the weight of everything they said, everything they didn't say, pressed against your chest so hard you couldn't breathe. When the dream that once burned inside you felt like nothing more than dying embers struggling for air. You almost let their words define you. Almost. This is the part they'll never ask about. The part they'll pretend never happened when you rise. Because they don't see the nights when you lay awake, staring at the ceiling, questioning everything. They don't see the silent battles, the moments of doubt so strong they feel like drowning. They don't hear the whispered thoughts that creep in when no one else is around. Maybe they were right. Maybe I am asking for too much. Maybe I should just stop. This is the darkness before the breakthrough, the storm before the shift. And it is the loneliest place in the world, because it's here, in the silence, that you realize no one is coming to save you. The people who doubted you, they don't care. The ones who should have supported you, they won't suddenly show up with open arms. The world doesn't pause for your pain, doesn't bend for your struggles. And that realization, it's crushing. Because you spent so much time hoping, waiting for someone, something, to tell you that you were enough. But the truth is, the only voice that has ever mattered is your own. And right now, your own voice is barely a whisper. You tried, you really did. You gave it your best shot, but it felt like every step forward was met with resistance. The road was longer than you thought, the pain was sharper than you were prepared for. And sometimes the weight of being underestimated, of being ignored, of carrying dreams no one else believes in, it feels unbearable. You reached the edge, stood at the brink, and for a moment the thought of walking away seemed like relief, but you didn't. Something stopped you, something deep inside refused to let go completely. Maybe it was stubbornness, maybe it was a flicker of hope buried beneath the exhaustion. Maybe it was the quiet knowing that if you gave up now, you'd regret it for the rest of your life. Whatever it was, it held you there, in that moment of decision, standing between breaking and becoming. They wanted you buried. That was their plan all along. They threw dirt on your name, on your dreams, on your worth, hoping to suffocate everything you could have been. But what they didn't realize, what they will never understand, is that you are not something to be buried. You are something that grows. And the dirt they threw, it only planted your roots deeper. This is the part of the story they will never acknowledge. The breaking before the breakthrough. The struggle before the strength. The darkness before the dawn. They will only see the after. The moment you rise, the moment you become unstoppable, the moment you prove them wrong. But you will always remember this moment, this pain, this silence. And one day it will be the very thing that makes your victory taste even sweeter. You almost gave up, but almost isn't the same as surrender. Almost means you still had a fight left in you, and that fight, it's about to turn the whole world upside down. It happens in a single moment, though the buildup has been coming for years. A shift, a crack in the illusion, a spark that refuses to die. One day you wake up, and the weight of their words, the doubt, the dismissals, the insults that once felt like a life sentence, doesn't feel as heavy anymore. The chains they wrapped around your mind loosen, not because they have changed, but because you have. It wasn't that you were weak before. It wasn't that you were broken. You were simply waiting to be awakened, waiting to see the truth that had been there all along, that their words never had power, only the power you gave them, that the labels they placed on you were never yours to carry, that the only thing standing between you and the person you were meant to become was the belief that you were less than you truly are. The first step toward transformation isn't external. It's not about proving them wrong or making them see your worth or demanding respect from people who were never capable of giving it. No, the first step is accepting that you are powerful beyond measure, accepting that you are worthy, whether they acknowledge it or not, accepting that you are worthy whether they acknowledge it or not. And when you do that, when you stop needing their validation, that's when they lose control. Because their control was never about who you are, it was about what you believed about yourself. They knew the truth long before you did. They saw glimpses of your power before you ever did. That's why they tried so hard to keep you small. That's why they laughed, why they dismissed, why they made you feel like you were nothing. Because they saw something in you, something that scared them. But now you see it too. The shift is undeniable. It's like taking your first breath after being held underwater for too long. It's like stepping into the sunlight after years in the shadows. The moment you realize who you really are, everything changes. Their words, they lose their sting. Their doubts, they sound like noise, distant and unimportant. Their approval, it no longer holds value. You stop flinching at their judgment. You stop justifying your dreams. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. And they feel it. The ones who doubted you, the ones who underestimated you, the ones who thrived on your insecurity, they sense the shift before you even say a word. They can tell something is different. They can feel that you are no longer under their thumb, and that terrifies them. Because the moment they lose control over you is the moment you become unstoppable. It's the moment you start walking in your power, speaking your truth without hesitation, chasing your dreams with relentless force. It's the moment they realize they never had power over you to begin with. They will try to pull you back. They will question you, test you, try to remind you of who they think you are. But it won't work, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you realize your worth, you can't go back to believing you are anything less. This is the beginning of everything. The moment you stop living for their expectations and start living for your own. The moment you stop waiting for permission and start taking what was always meant for you. This is the shift. And once it happens, nothing will ever be the same again. They thought their words would break you. They thought their disrespect would be enough to keep you down. But what they never understood, what they could never comprehend, is that you were never built to break. You were built to transform. Every insult they threw at you, every moment of doubt they planted in your mind, every time they made you feel like you were nothing, was never meant to be your downfall. It was meant to be your fuel. The fire they tried to extinguish, it didn't die. It only learned to burn hotter. Because pain, when harnessed correctly, doesn't destroy, it creates. You take their disrespect, their laughter, their silence, and you turn it into something they will never be able to ignore. Let every insult be gasoline on your greatness. Let every doubter be a reminder of why you can't afford to stop. Let their underestimation of you become the very force that drives you forward. Because the truth is, there is nothing more powerful than someone who has been counted out and refuses to stay down. This is not about revenge. This is not about proving them wrong, because the moment you waste your energy on them, you give them power they never deserved in the first place. No, this is about using their doubt to fuel your own evolution. This is about taking the pain they gave you and turning it into something unbreakable. You are not shattered glass. You are the fire that forges steel. You are the pressure that creates diamonds. Every ounce of struggle, every moment of humiliation, every feeling of being ignored or overlooked, it is all part of the transformation. Because when you rise from the ashes, you do not rise as who you were. You rise as something stronger, something untouchable. And here's the best part, the world doesn't see you coming. They dismissed you for so long that they forgot to watch for you. They were so busy underestimating you that they didn't realize you were building. They assumed you were weak, but all this time, you were getting stronger, sharper, dangerous in a way they never predicted. This is momentum. This is power. This is transformation, and by the time they recognize what's happening, it will be too late, because you will already be unstoppable. Self-worth is not something you wait to feel. It's not something you search for in their words, in their approval, in their validation. It is not a feeling. It is a knowing that exists deep in your bones, untouched by their opinions, immune to their doubt. You don't wake up one day and suddenly feel worthy. You decide it. You claim it. You own it. And once you do, there is nothing they can say to take it from you. For too long, you let their words dictate your worth. You let their judgment define what you could be. You carried their opinions like a weight on your back, bending under the pressure of their disbelief. But here's the truth. The only power their words ever had was the power you gave them. They told you that you weren't enough, but those words meant nothing until you started to believe them. They made you question your dreams, but those doubts only became real when you let them take root inside you. But now you see through the illusion. Now you understand that their words, all of it, was never about you. It was about them, their own fears, their own limitations, their own failure to see what was possible. And the moment you stop absorbing their doubts as your own, the moment you reject their version of you, you become unshakable. And here's the part they never tell you. You don't need their validation. You never needed them to believe in you. You never needed their approval to rise, to succeed, to become who you were meant to be. Because true self-worth is built in the absence of applause. It's formed in the silence when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one is cheering you on. That's when you find out who you really are. That's when you realize that their belief in you was never a requirement, only your own was. And when you finally stand in that power, when you finally own who you are without waiting for anyone else to confirm it, that is when you become dangerous. That is when you become untouchable. Because no matter what they say, no matter how they react, no matter how they try to undermine your worth, doesn't matter anymore. The first taste of real power isn't when they start respecting you. It isn't when they finally acknowledge what you've done. It's when you stop needing them to. It's when you stand tall, despite their disbelief. It's when you walk into every room like you belong there. Not because they said you do, but because you decided you do. And in that moment, you become something they will never understand. Unshakable. They never saw it coming. They never expected you to rise. For so long, you were invisible to them. Just background noise, just another name, easily forgotten. But now they see you. Now they watch in disbelief. Now they wonder how you did it. They see the strength in your steps, the confidence in your presence. They hear your name in rooms they never thought you'd be in. They witness the transformation with their own eyes, and for the first time, they have nothing to say. The same mouths that once laughed at your dreams now speak your name with curiosity, with hesitation, with something they will never admit. Respect. But here's the twist. The irony they will never understand. Now that they respect you, you'll no longer care. Because it was never about them. It was never about proving them wrong, never about forcing them to see what you always knew was inside you. The moment you stopped needing their approval was the moment you became unstoppable. The moment you realized that their words, their opinions, their validation meant nothing was the moment you became everything they never expected. You don't have to silence the doubters with arguments, with explanations, with proof. Your success speaks for itself. Your growth, your power, your existence as something greater than they ever imagined is the only answer they will ever get. And it is enough. The shift in power is undeniable. For years, they tried to mold you, control you, shape the way you saw yourself, but that control, it's gone now. You don't move according to their expectations. You don't adjust yourself to fit their version of you. You move because you decide to. You build because you choose to. You rise because you refuse not to. And now, the world no longer controls you. You control your world. The same doors they shut in your face, you now walk through without knocking. The same people who once ignored you now try to get your attention. The same ones who doubted you now want to know your secret. But there is no secret. It was never luck. It was never an overnight miracle. It was never about them suddenly deciding you were worthy. It was you. It was always you. The work, the fire, the resilience, the refusal to stay down. It was all you. And now that they finally see it, it doesn't matter anymore. There was a time when you craved their approval, when you measured your worth by their reactions, their opinions, their validation. You fought to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged. You played by their rules, hoping they would finally recognize what you had to offer, but not anymore. Because now, you understand true freedom, and it has nothing to do with them. Freedom is not their acceptance, it is not their applause, it is not finally earning their respect after years of being ignored. True freedom is when you stop needing it, when you stop chasing their recognition, when you no longer wake up wondering if they will approve of what you do. You don't fight for a seat at their table anymore. You don't beg for space in a world that was never meant to contain you. You build your own empire. Brick by brick, move by move, you create something that is yours. Not because they finally gave you permission, but because you took what was already yours to begin with. The need for approval is a slow poison. It kills dreams before they can even take their first breath. It makes you play small, makes you hesitate, makes you shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold you. You've seen what happens to people who live their whole lives chasing the acceptance of others. They die full of regret, full of wasted potential, full of ideas they never pursued because they were too afraid of being judged. But not you. You broke free. You stopped waiting. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. You realized that the only voice that matters, the only approval that means anything, is your own. And now you walk away without looking back. No anger, no resentment, no need to prove anything, just an unshakable certainty that you are exactly where you're meant to be, doing exactly what you were meant to do. And whether they see it or not, whether they finally understand or not, it doesn't change a thing. Because you are no longer building for their approval. You are building for your legacy. This was never just about you. It was never just about proving them wrong, silencing the doubters, or showing them that they underestimated the wrong person. That was too small of a goal. This is about legacy, about building something that outlives their doubt, something greater than any one moment of validation or recognition. Because success isn't about revenge. Revenge is short-lived. Legacy is eternal. If all you ever wanted was to make them regret doubting you, then you would have been playing their game. You would have been chasing their reactions instead of chasing your purpose. But you understand something deeper now. Your journey was never about them. It was always about what you were destined to create. Your success isn't to prove them wrong, it's to prove yourself right. It's to confirm what you always knew deep down, that you were never small, never unworthy, never incapable. It's to show yourself that every struggle, every moment of doubt, every time you almost gave up, it was all leading here. To a version of yourself that no longer questions whether you are enough, because you know you are. But the greatest impact, it's not just in what you achieve for yourself. It's in the blueprint you leave behind. It's in the people who look at your journey and realize that they too can rise. It's in the next generation who will walk a little taller because they saw someone like you refuse to bow. Because doubt doesn't just come from the outside. It is inherited, passed down from one generation to the next. The fear of being too much, the conditioning that says stay in your place, the pressure to shrink to make others comfortable. These things don't disappear unless someone chooses to break the cycle. And that someone? It's you. Your legacy isn't in their approval. It's in the people who see what you've built and find the courage to build their own. It's in making sure the next generation never doubts their worth the way you once did. It's in showing them that they don't have to wait for permission to be great. And that will matter long after their doubt has faded into silence. That will stand long after their words have been forgotten. Because your impact will not be measured by their opinions. It will be measured by the lives you change, the barriers you break, and the fire you leave behind for others to carry forward. This is legacy. And this is just the beginning. No more waiting, no more excuses, no more standing in the shadows, hoping for the world to finally see you. This is your moment. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. For too long, you let hesitation steal your time. You let doubt keep you small. You let their opinions weigh more than your own belief. But that ends today. Because the version of you that is waiting on the other side of this decision, they are ready. The person you were always meant to be. The one who refuses to apologize for their power, the one who moves without fear, who speaks without doubt, who builds without limits. That person is waiting for you to finally step forward. And once you do, you will never go back. You are no longer the person they underestimated. You are no longer the one who questioned if they belonged. You are the storm they never saw coming. And the world, it will have no choice but to take notice. They doubted you. They disrespected you. They counted you out. But they will remember your name. They will remember the way you refused to break, the way you took every ounce of their doubt and turned it into a foundation they could never shake. They will remember how you rose, not because they finally believed in you, but because you believed in yourself. This is not just a chapter. This is the beginning of an era. Your era. The moment where you stop thinking about what could have been and start becoming what you were always meant to be. So rise, not for them, not for validation, not to prove anything to the world. Rise because you were never meant to stay down. This is your war cry, your declaration, your moment. And this time, you don't ask for permission. You take what was always yours.